Okay.
Because that'll help me figure out things. Okay. So say what you just told me about Jesse, and I
Okay.
think that's where we'll start.
I texted Jessie telling her what we were planning on doing, and I mentioned the thing that I wanted to bring up later in the recording. She said y'all should have a BuzzFeed Unsolved style show, except that it's about uncovering the Sufjan truth, whatever that might be. I didn't get to tell you my response to that, which
What?
I sent her a picture of him at the Oscars in 2018.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did he wear this? What's going on in his head? What was the haircut? Is this why he wears so many hats? That's the Sufjan truth that immediately came to mind.
I want there to be an explanation. The fact, like, the way that other celebrities get asked these really tiny questions about really tiny details and they have to make up stuff for the interviewer. I want Sufjan to have to do that, but no one's forcing him to have these kinds of explanations.
Just
so we
if he's willing to give us some info.
He wants to be unknown.
That's true. He's literally the meme. I want to be unknowable.
Yeah. The what's the thing? Oh my God. The what? Something of being known. Oh my God.
I know what you're talking about, and I'm blanking too. The mortifying ordeal of being known.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's him. Yeah. So here we are. This is Bridget. I'm talking with Dominique.
Yes.
We're two scholars of Sufjan, as you probably know. I think that this is we're entering the 8th year of our friendship.
I think we met in 2013, so it's been 7 years. Next year it'll be 8 years.
Yeah.
Next spring. Yeah.
And this entire thing has been littered with kind of Sufjan paraphernalia.
We became friends because of Sufjan.
Yeah, he's here with us. And if we told him this, he would probably be like, "That's my job," and then leave.
True. Well, technically, the way was we both went to a show of his that a mutual friend told us about, or knew about, and said,
the unknowable Ginny.
Yes, and she said,
Ginny,
hey,
if you're out there,
please,
Ginny,
please let us know how you are because we miss you so much.
Yeah, we miss you.
But she said that we were both going to be at that show, and was like, "Oh, I know someone else who went there. Check them out." And within 2 weeks, we were Skyping for hours.
Yeah, and so this whole experience has just been really joyful, but also it's been very frustrating because there's a lot of questions we don't have answered. And one of the biggest questions that we have is, when will Sufjan Stevens release a studio version of Majesty Snowbird?
Yes.
Dom, what is Majesty Snowbird?
It's one of the greatest songs of all time. I don't know how else to. It's one of my favorite songs of his. But it's just. There's so. I don't know how to talk about it without. I don't have the words for it. Basically,
that's the problem. Am I right?
Yeah.
This next song is a new song that we've just been playing on this tour for the first time. And this perhaps is our theme song. And it's a theme that's been in my head for 10 years. It's called Majesty Snowbird.
it's just not lyrically, but like it's heavy. Does that make sense? Like there's so much in the song, and the thing that I really want to talk about, I didn't realize until yesterday when I was going through all of the recordings of it I have on my phone.
Yeah.
But if you were thinking about the history of the song, the earliest recording that I have of it was September 29th, 2006, the town hall. And and he didn't, I guess for whatever reason, he didn't say anything at that specific concert. But 10 days later, live at the Wiltern, October 9th, 2006, which was 4 days before Crystal Ballroom, the recording that everyone normally talks about.
Yes.
He introduces the song as, "This next song is a new song that we're just playing on this tour for the first time. And this perhaps is our theme song, and it's a theme that's been in my head for 10 years. And as soon as I heard that, I know. And as soon as I heard that, I said, wait a second, this was 2006. 10 years before that was 1996. Majesty Snowbird is as old as the first version of Love Yourself. He just released Love Yourself last year. So
it's not out of the question, is what you're saying, right?
Yes. I was like, oh my God, this is the first piece. Like, I'm a detective now. I got to figure out.
Okay. You've been a detective since day one, to be honest. But that's just part of your personality. Like, you kind of like, you're like, Carol! You're literally like Charlie in that episode of It's Always Sunny, but it's with your favorite music and pulling meaning out of it.
I know that you're trying to make a joke about that, but literally, when I sent the whole thing about this to Jessie, I sent her a picture of Charlie with the Pepe Sylvia thing.
Wait, in your conversation with Jessie?
Yes. So, like, you're exactly right.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
It's a mood. So wait, hold on. I did not know this, Dom. So
I didn't realize it until yesterday.
In the town hall recording, he mentioned this?
That's the thing. That's the thing that gets me a little confused. The town hall recording is the first one that I have saved. The one that he says this in is live at the Wiltern, but that's October 9th. Meanwhile, the first recording that I have is September 29th, but he doesn't, I guess it might have just been that they didn't record early enough because there was no talking intro before it, but there was a little bit of an intro in the live at the Wiltern recording.
See, you have more recordings than me because I don't have live at the Wiltern. So just for our listeners who might, not be as deep in the Illuminati verse or whatever as we are, there are several bootleg recordings that exist of this song when Sufjan was performing it on what we'll loosely term his Butterfly Kite Brigade tour. There's this long, I can't remember I should do my research, huh? Hold on, let me look up his full name.
I have no idea why I even have this recording because I haven't really listened to my Apple Music that much in years. I've basically just been listening to Spotify. So I assume this was when I first got into him. I was probably searching the internet, like scouring, trying to figure out where I could get as many concert recordings, I guess, as I could. And I have no idea where I even got this from. But yeah, that's what it's labeled on what's in my phone now. I'm not sure if that's even accurate. The show, but that's what it says.
I mean, I bet it's accurate because it's like he reveals little bits of himself in private situations.
Right.
So I'm seeing here that some people are calling it his Chief Eagle, Majesty Snowbird, and the Butterfly Kite Brigade. Like his name is
Chief Eagle. I've never
Majesty
heard that
Snowbird.
in my life.
So it's almost like this is in a Guardian article from 2011. He's saying, it's saying that he called himself Chief Eagle, Majesty Snowbird, and his band was the Butterfly Kite Brigade.
That's strange, only because I started listening to him in 2011, and I would have assumed that I would have tried to like look up some stuff about him when I first started listening to him. And you would think, like, especially an article from that same year, I'd be like, oh, let me read this. But I don't remember that term or that article at all. That's so strange.
I don't remember this article at all. I might have to read this a little bit afterwards. But I'm trying to... Hold on, give me a second.
I'll also send you this recording, by the way, of
yes,
of Live at the Wiltern. Yes.
So he says at the beginning of this. Okay, never mind. It's not here. I can't do it right now because we're doing this podcast, I guess. But there's help me out if anyone listening, which is literally just going to be our friends, knows what bootleg where he announces what his band is called, and he says like the Butterfly Kite Brigade or something like that. Anyway, who cares?
Hello. It's great to be here. My name is Sufjan Stevens, and for tonight, you can call me the Majesty Snowbird, and this is the magical Butterfly Kite Brigade, and we're here to entertain you for the duration of the night. Thanks very much.
I'll see if I can look that up too.
The point that I was trying to make is I didn't know that he said that it's 10 years old.
Right.
And I guess this is an ongoing theme in his life that
100%.
He returns to these older songs. Or recall when we were at the Live at Town Hall with Chris Thiele show, Chris Thiele said something like, how do you deal with making so many great songs? And Sufjan said, well, I only released like 1 out of 10 songs. The other 9 are garbage. Does that make you feel better? Which was a very passive-aggressive way of saying, I have my flaws too.
I forgot that he said that, but you're right. But it is a recurring theme because he did that with, obviously, with Love Yourself. And I do appreciate the fact that he released each version, or maybe not every version, but the 96, I think it was 99, if I'm not mistaken, 2011. Yeah, I think it was 96, 99, 2011, and then the final one was 2019. And
2011? Wow.
Yeah, and he released the 1996
and 2011 ones in 2011 or 2015. Excuse me.
I'm not sure which year he did it, because I know he released all of them on his Tumblr. Yeah. Like as audio posts, and then he released the 96 one legitimately on Spotify with the newest 2019 one. So the other two aren't on Spotify or anything, but he did technically release them.
The other two he released on SoundCloud, which I'm trying to find, but it's kind of hard, I guess.
There used to be a way that I was able to. If you go to his archive and then go to looking up things by post, you should be able to do it by audio, if I'm not mistaken, I think. But aside from that song, he also
Love Yourself.
Yeah, there's also a Music Now recording of Pluto before it was called Pluto, when it was called Jupiter Bad June.
And do you know what year that was from?
That, I believe, was from 2007, if I'm not mistaken. Which means, so again, that's a 10-year...
2017, so it's a 10-year thing.
Right.
So then here's my question. It's been, 24 years, is that right?
Well, but at the same time, with Love Yourself, that was 23 years. So maybe he's just trying to see how long he can stretch it out.
Algebra over here. Okay.
Right?
Anyway,
maybe he's just trying to see how long he can stretch it out. I guess. I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's about time. We keep talking about how we would love for that to be one of the songs on the dance record, because that would go off.
Hey, I'm getting to that. Okay, Dom. Jeez.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so here's a question. Do you remember your first memory associated with the song? I am not asking for a detailed recollection, but what images or time periods come up when you think about the first time you really connected with this song?
The first time I listened to it was not very long after the first time I listened to him in general, because, again, Ginny was the one who told me about him back in November of 2011. And I was so excited after the first listen that I tried to listen to every single thing that he had put out there. So over the span of like probably 3 days, I had heard almost every song of his. Like, it was very, but I actually think that I think I can pull up the post that I like made the first time that I listened to that song.
That would be, if you have the capability of doing that right now, that would be really nice to have for this whole oral history that we're doing. I can talk for a little bit if you want while you do that, maybe?
Sure. I'm going to see if I can find the date for it.
Sure. If you can't find it really quickly, then we'll just abandon it. But while you're doing that, I'm going to do a little close reading of some of the lyrics, and feel free to chime in if you want. But yeah.
Gotcha.
So as Dom mentioned earlier, it's a very heavy song, and that's a great word for it. As most people know, Sufjan's a sad musician. He has songs that are contain bits of joy, happiness, and love. There's a lot of positive emotions that I associate with his music, but he is, he's a sad person, as a lot of people that I emotionally relate to are. That's present in the lyrics of this song as well. So it seems to be a kind of ode to this bird, the Majesty Snowbird, which is actually not even that much of an impressive bird. It's the real name for it is a dark-eyed junco bird. Let me just double check that.
When I was trying to look up the lyrics yesterday, I think it said something about oh, damn, I already forgot. I know it said something about the type relatable. It said something about the type of bird it was.
It's a dark-eyed junco. So it's a small grayish American sparrow, related to the fox sparrow. So if you go look up a picture of this, it's this cute little bird. It has a dark top and a light bottom. And I'm assuming that it must, hop around on snow, which is why it might be known as a snowbird.
Also,
so Sufjan, yes?
Sorry, if you go to genius.com, which again, I don't know like who added this, so I couldn't say if it's legit, but for the first line, Rainbird laughing in the olive tree, if you go to the annotation, someone wrote, "This is possibly a reference to an obscure poem by American editor, translator, and poet Nathan Haskell Dole entitled Music, a Song of Fellowship." As in his song, Dole associates the rainbird with an olive tree. So I guess part of the poem says, "And the rainbird's rhythmic tap on the hollow olive tree stump gave birth to the drum with its thump like the rumbling thunderclap." So,
oh my gosh, that is definitely real. Like I know that like it might not be true, but like look at it. It's definitely a reference.
There's definitely a correlation.
And you know
there.
how much of a nerd Sufjan is. He loves poetry.
Right.
I'm seeing here that it also mentions that rainbirds in reality and myth are commonly thought to bring about or portend rain.
Oh really? Yeah. See? So
it's like he's calling the snowbird a rainbird. Or maybe it's a different bird. We don't know. That is, Dom, can I just say, you're doing a great job right now.
Thank you.
This is exactly what I wanted to do.
You told me about this, and I was like, okay, now I have to do my research. And I'm so bad at doing research for anything I need to do research for. But But if it's something like this, I go so far down the rabbit hole so quickly that it's
for anything
absolutely
for Pepe
wild.
Sylvia.
Yeah, like I don't have anything specific that I said about that song. I have that a friend of mine at the time asked if I had listened to that song, and I was like, not yet, I will right now. And then when someone was like, listen to this version, I'm assuming sent me the actual Crystal Ballroom version. I just said, oh my God, I'm going to throw up, help, because I was so overcome, I guess. Which is, I guess, I don't know. But I will say, I'm trying to remember. No, it wasn't Majesty Snowbird. I have an entire day. A friend of mine listened to Impossible Soul for the first time and posted everything about it. And I had reblogged every post that she had made because it was...
Yes.
It snowballed her reaction, and it was very funny. And I originally thought that was Majesty Snowbird, but it's not. So that has nothing to do with this. Although I will send you some of that if you want, because it was very funny.
Yeah, no, I actually would appreciate that.
Yeah. But yeah, apparently the first day that I listened to it was November 12th, 2011.
See, I love that you can find that out.
I know that only because the first time I listened to him specifically was November 9th. So like I said, like people didn't even know the song existed. Not everyone, but people who get into him, I feel like most of the time take a little while to go through his albums. Within 3 days, I was like, give me the most obscure things he's ever put out there. I need to know everything.
You were ready.
Yeah. My gosh.
I didn't do my research for myself the first time that I listened to it, but I have a very distinct memory of getting into the bootlegs of Sufjan Stevens, the blog, which I'm censoring there just in case any children are listening to this. But there's this blog, Sufjan Stevens, essentially, that they compiled all these bootlegs back in
that
2011 or previous.
Mine.
Yeah, that's definitely where I got mine. And you can still see the the bootlegs. They still have them up here. And it was kind of like, I feel that what it was after you went through his whole discography, if you wanted to like prove that you were really into him, you would go download the bootlegs and listen to them too. And then there was all this additional stuff in it, you know?
Which was probably, again, how I have so much on my phone. And if I went to the next day, which was November 13th, Ginny had reblogged the post where I originally promised her I would listen to him. And she wrote, Dom, this was 3 days ago, remember? And my response was, Ginny, I don't remember what life was like before this post.
And you've been different ever since.
And I've been different ever since. The thing about Sufjan for me is that he's the thing who got me into music at all. And I wasn't really listening to, I was more of like, I was into TV, I was into movies, whatever. But this was the thing that actually got me into, I should take music seriously. And now I try and go to as many, I have tried to go to as many concerts as possible. Can't do that right now, but you know.
Oh my God, that's completely changed my life. Huh?
Yeah. But I mean, just music as a whole has changed my life. I know. It's a lot.
It's changed your life in what ways?
Aside from the fact that music gave me, I guess, a different way to look at myself and think about my feelings and everything. The year after I got into him was a really, really tough year for me. And the way that I got through that was listening to him and a lot of the musicians that I got into because of him. He was, I mean, I say because of him, the same friends who got me into Sufjan also recommended other singers. So the entire reason I started listening to the National or the Mountain Goats was because of those friends. But if I hadn't listened to him, I probably wouldn't have been willing to listen to their recommendations of these other bands. So technically it's the friends, but it's also the fact that I liked his music so much.
Yeah. I think I'll note here, I won't go into too much detail about Ginny, who was the mutual friend that we knew that kind of connected us.
Right.
But what I noticed about her, what was powerful about her was she was older, she knew more music, and she was so kind. And I loved. She would do these posts about music. And write in the tags and stuff, which is a practice on Tumblr where you put your kind of opinions and stuff in the tags so as to not detract or take attention to yourself, take attention from the original post to yourself. And she would have these such amazing ideas and stuff floating in the tags. And I don't really remember when I started talking to her, but we would have little messages back and forth talking about the music. And it was because I wanted to learn from her because she had such beautiful things. I think one of the most beautiful things she ever said was she just did this whole description of what she thought the piano creak at the beginning of Illinois, the album, symbolizes. And then the same kind of creak comes at the end of the album.
It bookmarks the album,
Oh my God, she had this explosive theory around it. And I was like, you can do this with music? What?
Yeah.
It's like a book?
Exactly. She was the one who actually got me to like analyze music too. And now all I want to do is find lyrics from different songs and be like, hey, look at these. These are like sister songs. Hey, look at this. This parallels this. And I never would have known to do that if I hadn't spoken to her about how she looked into this stuff. She once wrote a post that was like 5 different paragraphs about the entire meaning behind 4th of July on Carrie and Lowell. God. And it was just, she was so good at that.
She was like a mentor, like a professor that we learned from. And I think it's kind of like, wait, hold on, I lost my thought. A practice that reminds me of this is there's this new trend on Tumblr, which, by the way, is now one of the best platforms because Twitter has become horrible. There's this new practice of doing close readings.
Oh, yes, I love that.
Yeah, people like pull together all these lines and
screen caps from TV shows, poetry, lyrics, scripts from movies or TV. Yeah.
It's really powerful. And I mean, a lot of them are kind of meditating on the same ideas like tenderness, love, loneliness, nostalgia.
But we can never have too much tenderness.
No. Oh, no. Sufjan's a very tender person. But yeah, so people are doing that now, and it reminds me, it is what Ginny was applying to music, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Anyway, getting back to
Majesty
Snowbird. So I wanted to like look at the lyrics for a little bit before some other questions I had for you.
Okay.
So it's a song that seems to be the narrator is either a bird as well, or is a person that is looking for strength in something else, and also looking to repair some kind of broken relationship.
Exactly.
So, you know,
is it the broken word or good advice I need?
Mm-hmm. I don't really know what is it the half as sweet means, set aside for me. But I've always, what my gut instinct is that this is like someone looking for redemption or like either a friendship or a relationship to be repaired. Like, do I get to return to you? Right. That kind of feeling.
Do I get to return to you? But if you want to return to me, you can delight because you have a place.
Yes. Yeah. Like saying like, even though I did this horrible thing and we're not sure where we stand, this place still remains for you.
Right.
And something that I have never understood in the lyrics, and this is I think where this like entrancement magic about the song comes in, that I want to talk about a little bit. He says, "Come to me, Majesty. Is it the Majesty? Blah blah blah." Right. I have no idea what he's talking about. Why is this sparrow a royalty? If anyone out there knows where this is coming from, if this bird was called Majesty Snowbird separately from Sufjan, please let me know. But I've never been able to find evidence of this phrase being used apart from Sufjan, because when you Google it like only his stuff comes up.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have an answer for that either. I'm not sure.
But this is one of that.
This is one of the songs of his.
Dom.
Yeah, this is one of the songs of his that I really, really love, but I understand the concept that was behind it far less than a lot of his other songs. A lot of his other songs, to me, are easier to analyze and figure out what the meaning was, I guess, behind them. Yeah. This is harder to, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like you said, it's.
You know how Sufjan changes. Sorry, wait. Finish your thought. Sometimes what?
No. I as soon as I said that, I lost my train of thought. So it's fine.
Yeah, I messed it up, Dom. I can't. I think that he. When we get really excited when he changes the lyrics and we like go into that and delve into that a little bit.
Yes.
I think that. I mean, I would hope that if he recorded it, the same thing would happen. And I think the same thing would happen because I think he grew more confident as a songwriter and felt more comfortable saying really, I want to use the word explicit, but I don't mean in the sense that people normally mean it. But like explicit details in terms of I think
very
of
clear.
With Carrie Lowell. Like Carrie Lowell is like, all his life is just laid out there with very clear details.
Right.
And this is very like
shrouded.
Hidden. I don't understand it, but I like that it's shrouded is such a good word, Dom.
Yeah. Well, I think that was one of the things I had written down when I was trying to write what my thoughts were on this. So that's
Do you want to share any more of those thoughts?
Let me look for one of the things I was thinking of, because I actually the fact that he had played this a few times on his 2006 tour and then stopped and then brought it up again in 2009 and then stopped and hasn't done it since. Yeah. That was one of the things that I couldn't stop thinking about. And I was like, is it possibly because of the amount of, I don't know how many instruments are playing in that song, but it sounds like an entire orchestra.
Yeah.
Was that difficult? He couldn't keep that up on tour if he wanted to play it enough times. I don't know, and also some of the vocals in it are very high. I know he's talked about how the older he gets, the harder it is for him to hit those notes. I'm not sure if that's one of the reasons, and he's like, maybe I'll keep that behind. It might be that
didn't stop him from covering a Prince song. So
true. I just wasn't sure if like maybe if the reasoning he doesn't want to put it on an album is because a lot of the times once something is on an album, you expect to hear it at least a few times over the course of a tour.
Sure.
If he doesn't think that he can hit those notes in the way that he wants to hit those notes, because as we're all aware, he's very much a perfectionist.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's one of the reasons, but I just hope that at some point, someday, we are able to hear it, because I would love to hear. I mean, not that the Crystal Ballroom isn't a very good, clear version, because
it's very clear, but it's also very dated. And I'm not saying
100%.
I'm not saying that I don't like his orchestral stuff, but I like you want to be like, hey, if you return to this now, what would it sound like? Because I want to hear it.
100%.
Yeah.
Because in the other two versions that I have from 2006, before the Crystal Ballroom, you can hear that they hadn't really figured out how to, I guess, get the vocals above the background noise. So it was kind of like muddled. You couldn't hear it you couldn't hear what he was singing that well over, because it was such a,
huge
an entire
song.
orchestra. Yeah, it was such a huge song. There were so many instruments. You couldn't hear what he was singing that well. And that very much cleared up, I guess, over the course of 2.5 weeks. Because again, if possibly the first time he had played that was at the end of September, and by mid-October, Crystal Ballroom was played, you could hear it better. But I agree with you that I definitely would like to hear.
Is the Live at the Wiltern one the first time he performed it?
That's the thing. The Live at the Wiltern one is 4 days before Crystal Ballroom, because that's October 9th.
Yeah.
And that's the one that he says it's a new song and it's a theme. It's been in my head for 10 years. But the Town Hall one that I also have is September 29th.
The Town Hall one is the first one.
Which is 2 weeks before Crystal Ballroom, as opposed to 4 days. So that would be 10 days before the other one. But again, I don't know if he was just saying that every time he played it on that tour, and we just didn't get that because it didn't have the intro for the Town Hall recording.
Right.
So that's definitely possible. I will say that I also have a copy of the Live from Castaways in September of 2009, which was September 23rd, 2009.
The Castaways one I have.
And that it's like around 5 or so minutes in, it sounds like he tried to like remix it a little.
Yeah.
I was like, is there a drum kit?
I've always liked the Castaways one because doesn't it have an electric guitar or something like that? Like,
I believe it does. And I wrote down in the notes that I wrote, I said, is this a drum kit? Like, there was definitely a beat. There was definitely a beat there that wasn't in the other ones. And listening back on it, it kind of reminded me of how he remixed Drawn to the Blood.
Don't stop, don't break. You can delight because you have a place, a quiet room. I need you now. Is it the right one? Is it the right word? Is it the broken word?
oh my God, you're right.
Right?
Oh my gosh. Oh no. I mean, yes. Like, okay, yeah. Because Drawn to the Blood came out, I think, around that time. So for context, this was the time after Illinois and before Age of Odds, where he was in like I wouldn't call it a rut. But he did like the BQE for BAM. BAM commissioned that. I think he did his first ballet. And I think there was something else.
That long ago?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Wow.
maybe I
that.
had that wrong. I mean, like, I don't care. But it was basically like he was doing stuff, but he was he didn't, in my opinion, he felt a lot of pressure after Illinois and people wanted him to do a third state. And he was like, F you, I'm anxious. I have anxiety. And he was kind of like tooling around with these new ideas and then went in the direction of Age of Odds. But All Delighted People shows that he still had this, orchestral rock kind of heart to him. Anyway, I love
even in the 2011 version. I think it's 2011 of Love Yourself. There was definitely some sort of
drum kit.
Yeah, there was definitely like. The types of sounds he was using were not similar to what he had been. I mean, I guess a little bit similar because, Enjoy Your Rabbit and stuff like that. But it was definitely something that if you were only into Seven Swans, Michigan, and Illinois, you'd be like, what is going on here?
Yeah. Well, I think all the people that became fans because of those amazing albums were not fans of Enjoy Your Rabbit. And so like to hear this drum kit and weird like bleeps and bloop stuff, you would be like, this sounds like garbage. This reminds me of a comment that I saw on the Aporia live stream where someone was like, great, another subpar electronica album from Sufjan.
Yikes. Why would someone say that?
Whenever people say this type of thing, I kind of am like, hey, have you ever tried to make an electronica album, like produce it on your own? It's really hard. My brother does EDM stuff, and it is like I am not like an EDM fan, but I have so much respect for what I see my brother doing, because it takes so much work and you have to learn the language of the program. And then I don't know how producers do it, to be honest. And he's doing all those sounds. He was doing them all in Pro Tools, which is kind of, I feel like, just a better garage band.
Isn't
that's
Pro Tools
intense.
the thing that Sufjan was using?
Yes. Sorry, I meant he as in Sufjan. I think my brother uses.
Okay. I was like, wow, is he using the same?
I'll ask my brother. I don't know what he uses.
I wouldn't know if that was a thing that would be, something
Maybe
that anyone could use, or like you needed to be at Sufjan level to be able to. I don't know, but
it's like this crazy program where you can manipulate all the levels of the things that you're doing, and you like add loops and stuff. And I have no idea how to make it sound good. I also, like, one time I was watching someone play around with a synthesizer, and it just like, it sounds bad if you don't know how to like layer it and really be regimented about the sounds you're recording. It sounds bad. And Aporia sounds good. Like it is.
Clearly, they just didn't actually. They might have just not really given it a listen. Like, it was one of those things where they just put it on, but they were not giving it their full attention. Like, sorry, you didn't get to hear Captain Praxis, but he went off. Like,
sorry, this is an easy listening contemporary version of Chicago or whatever.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, because that's another thing. I feel bad. Like, I did love Chicago. Like, that was the first song I had ever heard by him, and I really enjoyed it. But as I've, gotten older and like stayed a fan, I'm like, okay, now let's open up.
Let's move on. Let's grow up.
Let's move on. Let's listen to everything of his and give it all a fair chance, instead of only harping on the some of the most popular things he's put out there. Yeah. No offense to anyone who loves Chicago. Like, again, that was the thing that got me into him in the first place. But
I love Chicago, but I don't think Sufjan loves Chicago anymore. Yeah. And so maybe you should consider that. I will also say that he did perform Chicago at his festival shows in 2017. And that was its own experience, or 2016. I don't even know anymore. I think it was 2016.
If you're talking about Boston Calling, it was 2016, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. But when he did that, it was this kind of like rejuvenated version, and it's like it's time to move on.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so I have, unless you have any other thoughts that you want to add, maybe from your notes, I have a final question for you.
My only thoughts were my friend Valerie, when we had first been listening to this and we're trying to get all of our other friends to listen around the same time I started, she wrote, "Thanks very much," with like in parentheses a giggle, because he at the end of the recording says thanks very much and then giggles. And Ginny responded to that and wrote, "Oh God, I know." He's like, "Oh shucks, I guess you like my little ditty." And I'm like, "F you, that was Majesty effing Snowbird." Which like ditty. Right. And so that was her, I guess, contribution. And then my thing is just, the beginning of it is also just so soft. It, to me, feels like when you wrap yourself up in a blanket that you just got out of the dryer. Like, you just feel warm and comfortable and content.
For me,
it's just so good.
It's like it's a winter day, but you're inside and you're like on a bed that's in afternoon sunlight, and the sun is hitting you, and you just kind of absorb the sun. And
Yes.
so even though it's like a winter day, you're like, well, the sun's still out there. Like, yeah.
There's a warmth. There's some sort of light from, any way that you're talking about it. It's just so nice. But sorry, continue then with your last question.
Some sort of light is just such a gorgeous phrase, Dom.
Yeah. Thank you.
You reminded me with that little story of the thing that I wanted to say, but I forgot. This song is one of the first songs where Sufjan allowed himself to paint an epic story. He is a storyteller at heart. He wanted to be a fiction writer or a novelist. He wrote short stories in the spirit of Flannery O'Connor. He got his MFA at the New School in New York, and it just never took off for him. And I think he felt boxed out by the publishing industry in ways that I have felt as well. I just feel like I can't write what is commercially sellable,
right,
etc. But then he had this experience from his band in college and was kind of like turning to music. And music is now kind of the storytelling that people really connect with, right? Other than TV.
Oh, 100%.
So he was writing all these very standard songs. I'm not calling them standard in a negative way, but I'm saying they have like a certain structure to them.
Yes.
And I see in Illinois the kind of epic songwriting in Come On Feel the Illinois and in Predatory Wasp.
Right.
This kind of sense that it's this simple story, and then there's these huge sweeping sonic tableaux that are coming in, and you're like, this is a song about summer camp.
Phrase for this. Sweeping sonic tableaux. Wow, yes.
So if he wrote this song in 1996 and then came back to it in 2006, like it's
that's another thing. Can you imagine what Majesty Snowbird would have sounded like in 1996?
No, I think it sounds bad.
but aren't you curious? I would love to hear to know.
I'm so curious. Like if Sufjan ever listened to this, he would be so offended. But his early stuff I do love. But I think that sometimes when you try and do something when you don't have the tools yet, it's like 100%. You're reaching too far.
100%. I would just be curious. I wouldn't be like, release this
curious.
because it's good. I'm sure you have to work on things, but oh my God, I'm so curious to what it sounds like.
I'm so curious. I want to hear it. Also, Dom, another example of like the epic songwriting is Give a Little Love. The way that
oh my God, I love that song so much. And that's another one
opens up
that
real
big. No one talked about that when he released that. And even I'm still in a group on Facebook about him, and a lot of the times I see the post and I just roll my eyes, and there's a lot that
I hate
don't
that
agree
Facebook
with.
Group.
Yeah, there's a lot that I don't agree with.
I hate it.
There's a lot that I don't agree with. There's a few things and I'm like, oh, that's nice. But even today, I just looked, I think it was today or recently, they were like, what's your favorite underrated song? And everyone's posting these songs that are on the albums that everyone listens to. And I'm like, you want an underrated song? Talk about like Give a Little Love or something like that. Like Eugene is on Carry a Lowell, which everyone is obsessed with. Like that's
Wait, did people say Eugene is an underrated song?
Someone said Eugene was. Someone said, oh God, just people were listening. Oh, I think someone wrote Romulus, and I was like,
oh my
what?
God.
Just like, this is why I
went into the red levels on my recording. Oh my God. Are you serious? Romulus?
Again, I don't want to call anyone out. It's just like, I'm glad.
Yeah, I don't want to call anyone out.
I'm glad that we're surrounded by. I'm glad that we're surrounded by friends with good taste.
Sorry, let's flip this around, because the negativity is something that is, bleh. How about anyone who's listening to this, if you think that Eugene is an underrated song, and you know what, in certain ways it is, because it's not a hit, and neither any of his other songs, why don't you go check out his bootlegs? Why don't you go check out his bootlegs and just spend some time? It is so fun to get off Spotify, download some fresh MP3s and put them on your iTunes and just listen to weird, kind of bad stuff. Because the bootlegs are not like, fully produced stuff. But why are we obsessed with these like complete perfectionist things when we can take a break and go into this weird world of music where, hey, music is actually bad most of the time. Like I play,
that's making me think of all the stories that he tells on the bootlegs too. The last time I saw you in person, we hung out with Elsa and you played the story that he told in the
yes.
I don't remember which recording it was.
The predatory wasp. I think it's the
you were able to say it last time I saw you. You knew it off the top of your head, but I don't remember what it is now.
But I have no memory now. Hold on.
The fluttering, buzzing noise.
Paradiso.
When I looked behind
Paradiso
my shoulders, I saw that it actually was striped. It was striped black and yellow, and it looked kind of like a bee. And it made this hissing, buzzing sound, and it was snapping at us. And it had claws, and had a giant gun. And it was shooting at us. And we would go underneath.
So my final question for you, Dom, and thank you so much for absolutely beautiful hour talking about Majesty Snowbird with you. I cherish this. Even if I never post it, I cherish this.
And me too.
What would your dream recording of the song feature? And you can't just say genres. You got to give me some meaty stuff, like either instruments or weird ideas. I don't know. What would you suggest to Sufjan?
Well, I don't actually know what genre this would be like counted as. I have no idea what this would be seen as. I'm not very good at figuring out genres in the first place, but like I have absolutely no idea what you could put this under.
No, but what do you want the future recording of the song to be?
I know that this is like underwhelming, but I would just love a little bit of a dancier version of the Crystal Ballroom one. Like I don't know how he would do it where it would make sense because I can't really pull it up in my brain. But
dancier, as in you want like a fat bass line?
Not like too heavy, because then it's just I feel like it would take away from the rest of all of the instruments.
Think of a song that you like the vibe of that you would want it to be if you can. If you can't think of one, it doesn't matter.
I don't know why, but the immediate first song that came to mind was Ever Again by Robin.
Oh my God, I knew you were going to say Robin. Ever Again is good. Ever Again is okay.
And also that has, it's not a drop, but like at the, I guess it's the bridge-ish part of the song, but there's not like a bridge within the lyrics. There's like a beat change, I guess, is the way that I would describe it. And maybe if he did something like that, but I don't know enough about music and instruments to be like, and this is how he should do it, because I have no idea. He's definitely,
but that's the beautiful part about this. It doesn't matter, because you don't need to know a lot about music or storytelling to like dream something up. First of all, that's like my number one takeaway from this. And second of all, Dom, you know more than you think. Like definitely 100%
but I'm
you know
just,
more than
like,
you think.
I'm saying even when people play music for me, I'm like, oh, that's great. Like, what instrument is that? And they're like, are you kidding? Like, you can't tell that that's a violin? And I'm like, no, there are a lot of stringed instruments.
As you should. Ask questions. Make them answer.
Yeah.
Do they even know? Okay.
Maybe.
So Sufjan, please make a Majesty Snowbird inspired by Ever Again by Robin. By the way,
God,
I love the Soul Wax remix of that song. The Soul Wax remix is super good.
I actually don't think I've had the chance to listen to that, because I will say the one good thing, not good thing, but the one thing that I appreciate about the last few months is the amount of musicians who are releasing things that I feel like are just a gift to me is amazing.
Okay,
and
let's name them. Carly Rae Jepsen,
dedicated side B. The Mountain Goats songs for, I can't pronounce, is it Pierre
Owlon Raid? Oh, Pierre. I just said the first song of it. Literally, that's just how my brain is working. Yeah,
I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
I think it's Pierre Chauvin. I think it's Pierre Chauvin, but who knows?
So those two, Rina Sawayama's album, and
Charlie XCX for me,
and Fiona Apple, Fetch the Bolt Cutters. Like,
we love Rina.
Just four off the top.
Fiona, yes.
The four off the top of my head.
I'm trying to think of other new stuff.
I keep thinking of every year. I'm like, I liked so many albums that came out this year. Yeah. The fact that everything came out within this year, I'm not even going to get anything next year. Like, there's not going to be.
But that's not true. Next year's coming.
I know. But I'm saying, like, I was surprised when the Mountain Goats released something in 2015 and then again in 2017. I'm like, you released an album and then did a tour. Like, you didn't even get a break in between. Like, I'm expecting someone to put something out, go on tour for like a year or so, then have a little bit of a break, get back to their lives, and then go out and record. Even the fact that Sufjan has had spaces in between what he's I guess I don't want to say legit albums, but the should I say commercial album? I don't know how to explain it, but the gap, I guess, between Age of Odds and...
Are you seeing his solo albums?
His solo albums. The gap between Age of Odds and Carrie and Lowell. He released a lot in between those, even if it wasn't like a new solo album. There was a lot going on in between those, and there's been a lot since. Yeah. So, and so I try and think about that, and I'm like, I love hearing all these songs from my favorite musicians, but I do want to make sure that they're resting and not, completely overworking themselves on stage.
These albums, I would beg anyone who's ever been impatient, and I've been impatient myself, just try and think about making an album yourself. And that's probably how it feels. Yes, there are probably a lot of them have money and teams, but still, I
was concerned about the National after Trouble Will Find Me, because that was 2013, and they toured that for like 2.5 years, and then like right after that they released Sleep Well Beast. The only thing I could think about during like 2015 and 2016 when they were still touring for that was the fact that My Chemical Romance toured for like 2.5 years after Black Parade, put out one album after that, and then was like, I can't do this anymore, and then broke up. Luckily, they're now back together. But I just kept thinking, oh my God, they just drove themselves into the ground.
That's a podcast for you to do, Dom. The experience of becoming a fan, like real, like a full-time job fan in the void, and then having them return. I don't understand how that happened.
That's actually funny enough. The music challenge that we've been trying to do, today's thing supposedly is a song by a band you would like to get back together. And I'm like, MyChem. And I'm literally like, MyChem and LCD Sound System already got back together. I can't think of someone who would still want to get back together.
No, we already have our dreams fulfilled.
Yeah, which is great.
All right. Praying for Pavement to get back together. Signing off. This is Bridget.
And this is Dominique. Is that what I was supposed to say?
And this has been an oral history of Majesty Snowbird. Okay, I think that's it, Dom.